Carolyn? Yes. Kevin? Thanks, Eric. Oh. Carol? Yes. Edward? Oh. Thank you. So I've not been apprised of any of the any amendments. So let's move to approve the agenda. Approve the agenda. So I will make a motion to approve the agenda. For the July 19th, 2023 meeting.
And I will second.
Second to approve the agenda. Any comments or complaints about the agenda? Hearing none, would you please call the roll? Ellen? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Carolyn? Yes. Kevin? Bill? Carol? Yes. Edward?
Yep.
Motion passes. Thank you.
So I did want to mention that Phil is actually in the meeting. He is not a panelist yet, so I'm trying to get him promoted to where he can talk.
Do you know how to do that?
I'm asking the host of the meeting to do it, but
I do not, okay, Phil has joined the meeting, thank you.
Phil, or should we talk to him? Phil, can you hear us?
Is he muted? No, he is muted, it looks like he's muted.
yeah, no, I need that.
Bill, can you unmute yourself, please?
I just want to make sure he can hear us.
While we wait for Phil to unmute himself. Moving on to the statement of compliance, I don't believe it applies to this meetings in July, so we'll move on to the number 5 public comment on non-agenda items. Is there any seeing and hearing none? We'll move on to item 6, approval of the minutes pages 1 through 6.
I motion we approve the minutes June 21st, 2023 meeting.
I'll second.
And oh,
There are a couple of corrections.
Yeah.
To the minutes. On let's see, no, it's not.
page 1.
Page 1. Did you give her the highlighted copy, Tina?
Okay.
You're under page 1 in the debt section. There was a comment made about interns for the computer center office. There were no interns.
Oh, thank you. All right, where I was on.
It's highlighted.
Go ahead.
Yes, on page 1, I think Edward was saying is, and I was talking and listening, so under guest in person, correct your minutes. Intern was for BRCJ, not Purdue Extension. It's one correction.
Oh, that's a bit.
There is a second correction on page 5. Down toward the bottom under greater proposed buildings. Second line should be, the service agreements should say on-call or retainer agreements.
Can I read the whole thing?
Sorry. Well, let me
I'm sorry.
correct the other section
I'm
first.
sorry.
And then moving down in a sentence where it talks about facility repairs, instead of therefore a contract was needed for repairs of Flatwood Park Group Shelter number 1, it should remove all of that. So there's a period at the end of repairs. Is that correct, Kelly?
Tina, you have the highlighted. Want me just to read the whole sentence so we can, you want to read the whole sentence, Tina? The corrected one.
It says. Ms. Whitmer stated that the county legal department did not want on-call or retainer agreement utilized for facility repairs, period.
Any other, excuse me, corrections or amendments to the minutes?
I've got a couple. On page 3 on the roll call, Edward voted yes, but his presence was not checked. And on page 5, on the roll call under new business, Carolyn was noted to vote yes, but her presence was not checked.
Eagle eye, once again. Thank you, Phil. Anything else?
Not until page 9.
Is there a motion, I think correct the business? To accept the corrected.
Well, make a motion that we accept the, or I will amend the motion, there we go, to accept the minutes for June 21st, 2023 meeting as amended.
I will second.
Moved in second to accept the minutes as amended. Any other corrections or comments? Roll call.
Joe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Kevin. Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Edward,
Yep.
Evelyn.
Yes. Motion passes. Moving on to page 7. And approval of the non-reverting claims. Any questions or comments about the non-reverting claims for June?
Yes. Last one,
Yes.
what is that?
Broken hand?
Yeah. Somebody broke their hand?
Yes, one of the ladies that was gonna go on the trip called in the morning and said she fell and broke her hand the night before and wouldn't be able to go.
Okay.
It's record. Not on our watch.
Good, good.
Anything else? Is there a motion to approve?
The motion to approve the non-reverting claims for June 2023.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve non-reverting claims. June 2023. Anything else? Hearing none, roll call please.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Kevin. Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yeah.
Edward,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Joe.
Yeah.
Motion passes. Pages 8 and 9, approval of the credit card charges.
Want to know what UV there?
Where?
Second one down.
The UV beads,
Oh,
Yeah.
is that what you said? No, you need someone to ask that. Those are beads that you wear and you're in the sun too. I think it's an autumn thing, but you put sunscreen on them and it turns the color when the sunscreen is worn off. It's not like a medical thing, it's giving you an idea of that stuff.
Any other questions or comments?
I don't have any comment or criticism on page 9 on the credit card checks, but I would like to ask a couple of questions on how much a postage stamp roll costs now.
There's 66 cents, I believe, a stamp right now. So 20 times 66, which is wow.
Okay. And how many?
Right now, but they're probably gonna go up.
Okay, I calculated it at about $64, so.
Are these big rolls?
Question
Yeah,
is
yes.
about,
100.
100, not 20.
So I was thinking of, there's 100 in a roll, so she got 7 rolls.
okay. Well, I haven't bought stamps in a while. That was why I asked the question.
Bring out your wallet, Phil.
Yeah. The second question I had is how many pool passes did we get for $810?
The pool passes come in a 20 punch card. that are $90 each. And this won't be the last I buy. I tend to buy them in increments, so I just bought some more last week. And I'll probably have to buy a few more for next week. We go through a lot. We go so many twice a week, and I probably use 45 to 50 stills per day that would go.
Okay, so they're single entry tickets.
There's 20 each pass, it's a 20 punch pass, 20 entry per punch pass, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All righty, thank you. Like I said, no criticism. That was just kind of self-education here.
Well, I didn't ask for criticisms, I just asked for comments, so you know, that's fine. But then criticisms, I guess, are welcome also. I had a question, John, on the Facebook advertisement, knowing nothing about those, was it worth it?
I think it was for movie night. I mean, we talked last month about the participation. And all I can say is the only difference between our last one and our most recent one has been this advertisement. There was probably 200 more people than were there at the last one. It's hard to tell with adult soccer because it's so weather dependent. I can say, and Matt would probably concur, that our participation has been high pretty much every Tuesday, and leagues have been good participation as well. So it's kind of one of those intangible things, but it does, I think it's effective.
Excellent.
Well, I will say that I play soccer every Tuesday, and it is thanks to the Facebook ad. And that's even, I found out months after I had a seat on this board. So,
And you're all right on.
so, you know, I don't know if that says poorly for my involvement in this board or if says highly for the Facebook ad, but.
It's never come up before, so not to worry.
Well, another good thing about those is even if people don't attend, they still engage with advertisement. So they share it with people and they also see our page, and it kind of brings people to the page as well.
And it increases our algorithm, so,
Yes.
which means that.
Don't ask me about that because I don't have a
Don't
clue
even
how it
ever
works.
see our page, so.
So is there another movie night coming up?
Yeah, so Friday the 28th at Flatwoods is another one. Oh, gosh. So this one's a partnership with the library. I think it's Raya and the Last Dragon is what the movie is called. When we partner with the library, they've got a copyright license, so they typically pick the movie, and it coincides with their summer reading program. I think it's still a popular one though.
Now, John's also gonna put out that it's the grand opening of the new playground at Flatwood.
Right, yes.
Which we already have one of Andy's children will be cutting the ribbon again.
And probably Andy too, because they're big scissors and he's only 5.
Wait, who's only 5? Andy's children or Andy?
Both.
Depends on the day when Andy is, how old Andy is, but
Come on, Andy.
And
So-
wants to be steal the limelight from the.
So John and Andy will take care of that. I will not be available, but hopefully no one will be running with those scissors and
Nobody.
everything.
Maybe me.
I had stifled a comment about a child and those big scissors, and Andy came through for me. Say anything. So. Any other questions or comments about the credit card charges?
No.
Hearing none, is there a motion?
I move that we accept the credit card charges for June 2023.
Second,
Moved in second to approve the June 2023 credit card charges. Any further comments? Hearing none, roll call.
Kevin. Bill,
yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Edward,
Yep.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Carolyn.
yes, and the movie is indeed Raya and the Last Dragon.
Motion passes. Moving on then to Raya, RYA, Raya.
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 Yeah, RAYA.
It's on our events list.
It is.
It's a good one if you're 5 or 2.
Understood.
I think
Moving on to old business, item A, Flatwoods Playground update. Who is speaking to that?
I will for the first part of it, and then Andy's more than happy to jump into the second part of it. On page 10 is a spreadsheet. Phil, or not Phil, sorry, Joe requested the spreadsheet, and sorry, Phil, you don't have my cheat sheet. I gave you all this cheat sheet because I'm trying not to be confusing. I'll probably try to be concise. I didn't know. All right. All right. The commissioners approved for our department $400,000 in bond 4814 to replace the old Flatwoods playground with a new playground equipment and safety service. Keep that in mind. My goal is always to order needed items from multiple projects in order to pay for one semi-truck delivery. That's why this is a little confusing. Parks Board approved the Cars Farm Park cantilever project. It was about a year and a half ago. So keep that in mind. And then the Park Board also approved $35,000 in addition for the Flatwoods Park project, if the MCPR Foundation would match it with $35,000, which the foundation did. What was very nice about the cantilever deal is Duke Energy Foundation said they would buy one of them. So if you look at it, the Parks Department paid $18,600 for the Parks cantilever project. Okay. And Margie Rice had a wonderful idea for the foundation. She says, hey, we're going to donate $35,000 also to the Flatwoods Park playground, but we want the community foundation, Kellogg Endowment, to pay something. Well, we got $27,171.72 from the community foundation, which left our park foundation $7,828.28. That's how they got the $35,000. So you'll see it at the bottom. You'll see the foundation had 33,000 and 2,000, that equals 35,000. So that's how I paid for everything. And all the reimbursements will be coming back to the Parks Department from the foundation. Any questions?
Good job, Kelly.
Okay. I keep everything straight and all the money's there and I try to make most people to help pay for everything. And I like one semi trucks. I don't like both, so that costs a lot of money. So that's the money part. Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so I'm looking at your spreadsheet on page 10. You have total cost at 364, the bond at 400, and you have the remainder 35, which you can clearly see that is.
I have two outstanding bills. One's $18,000 and one's $9,800. Okay. Plus any of the leftovers will probably have to be going to some picnic tables in another order that we're going to do from another bond, but there's not going to be a whole lot left over.
Well, but what I'm saying that the commissioners gave you 400. And you, so far on your spreadsheet, you have a total cost of 364.
Correct.
Coming out of that 400, you have 35 left of the 400 commissioners gave.
I have $35,000, we'll just round, $35,000 left, but I have two outstanding bills that have not been paid yet.
Okay, but what about, you just went through this whole rigmarole of 35,000 from the foundation.
Correct.
Where is that money going and where is that being spent?
They've already, we as the Parks Department paid for everything up front. The foundation has already agreed to reimburse us, or actually it's going to be $33,000 because they've already paid $2,000 in superintendent check. So the Parks Department will be receiving a check back from the foundation in the amount of $33,000.
That's at the bottom 5, which are not listed as the pays.
Oh, PP's playgrounds is a slight LSI.
So those are things that were paid not out of bond from.
Correct, I mean.
So there are other things that just didn't make it in the itemized spread, the upper half of the itemized spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just seeing, I'm like, everything here is only accounting for the 400. not the
Yeah, and
other
you'll
35.
see how the money. That was the total bill. That's what the bond paid.
Oh, okay, I see that now.
Yeah, and then you do the math here, and you see the 5 here, I don't know how.
Okay, no, that works, it's fine.
Okay,
Now I see it.
yeah.
Now yeah, okay.
No, very
I
good
apologize.
questions. It's not the easiest thing to follow, but I write myself notes, and this also goes to the commissioners, Angie Purdy, and make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. So that's how you keep track.
Works.
Okay. Now, if you want to know about the nitty gritty, Andy, did you want to tell them all the work you all did?
Well, it's done. After the ups and downs we had along the way, everything is installed, at the playground, all the cantilever, shade, structures there, plus the playground, all the safety surfacing, all the dirt work around it is complete. We still got a little bit left to do, I think, over by our maintenance drive, but everything up next to the playground's done. It looks real good. Everything looks like a brand new, bright, shiny playground. The shade areas on each side, the concrete like patios, those turned out real nice. I think those will probably be a pretty big hit once we get some picnic tables in there. So looks real good.
And Amber, who is the maintenance hub manager for us there, said it's wildly popular. She said it's just packed, isn't it, Andy?
It's been insane. I've only been over there like, I don't know, less than a handful of times since it's been finished. And every day that I have, it's just been insane. And the day that we opened it, I can't remember. I think it was the Friday morning we went over to try to get everything done there. And I showed up over there late. I was dealing with trees at Karst, and while Stan and the guys were there, like literally doing the final finishing touches on cleaning, there was a whole herd of kids that were just chomping at the bit to get into it. And they ended up opening it up early because everybody was just ready to go. And it's been like that every day, I've heard. So we also got.
If it's 5-year-old approved.
Well, I don't know. So there's 2 different structures, 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. And I think they're probably played on by both. And I know mine have been up on them. They sure enjoy it. So.
I went by Tuesday afternoon. As they said, it was very busy.
Yep.
It looks great.
We also got our shade canopies up at Karst Farm Park during that whole process. There's 2 on the north side of the commons, 1 on the north side of the new playground over by shelter 1 and 2, and then 1 out at the trailhead for the Karst Greenway out there, our new trailhead. So we still got to dress up around those and pour the concrete around the ones up at the commons, but storm and damage has been keeping us busy, so those have been put on the back burner.
Yeah, I'm having a Debbie Downer moment. I know Ellisville, Spencer and Ellisville, and at least the northern part of Monroe County has been hit a couple of times now, just weeks apart. We live in the northern part and not had much fun. These cantilevers, sturdy.
It's very sturdy. Now, I can't tell you if the tornado takes the playground out, it will take the cantilever out.
Well, okay, all right, but they are
Sturdy. They're not meant to go up and down.
They're made out of a way thicker material than any of your standard shade tarps that you see. Even like the ones that we use out at the splash pad don't hold a candle to these ones that we're putting in. They're stitching on them that for all the seams that the wire's in is they're made to last. And the posts themselves are solid as all get out. They'll last for generations.
It wasn't the fabric that I was thinking about, it was how they're formed.
Yeah.
They also stretch so that the hail bounces off of them
Yeah, they'll withstand
So you're saying I
normal
can climb
weather.
on, jump on like a trampoline?
Yeah, about the only thing we need to worry about taking them down for, which we already do, is the fireworks at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, we take, yeah, because we don't want them to get burned.
Yeah.
First, we take them down. for the
Just have
fireworks.
the fire department.
Oh, well, that would get Andy going.
Any other comments or questions for Andy or about the update?
Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
And Stanley.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving on then to item B, the Hearst Athletic Complex, pages 12 to 17.
I've given you a lot of information. And actually, let me tell you at least that things are moving forward. Nothing is promised, nothing is approved. But the commissioners and the council are trying to figure out a way to pay for 2 synthetic fields with LED lights and I would say with natural infill. Because no one is excited about the crumb rubber. No one wants the crumb rubber. And that takes a lot of problems away from us, as in, that was the problem that Monroe County Youth Soccer and some other people had about younger children playing on it. Well, if you take the crumb rubber away, most likely that problem goes away. And I did do a couple research, Bill. You asked about insurance the other last meeting.
Yeah,
And our insurance company answered. And they have no problems with liability if it's grass or synthetic. They are double checking if the prices may go up for if a tornado hits the synthetic, we may want to insure that a little higher than the grass fields, but they're looking into that. So they are not concerned if we have grass or synthetic for engines.
Interesting.
Well, the insurance rates don't mind, but they might mind if a tornado hits and the carpet goes. That's a whole, but they're looking into that. And
You big sheets of carpet flying.
big sheets of carpet flying. Now, I did give you all a draft of the Hearst Athletic Complex Capital Turf Replacement Revenue Plan. If you like a hard copy, we do have a hard copy of this. This is a draft. This is a big draft.
Before we move to that, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't want to lose the thread.
What now?
The photographs that are included in this update, page 16. Are there for what reason?
This is what we want to buy, exactly. The photo says it all. It's a high school link, plus we'll have you, Matt, what are the numbers you, 10 and 11? 9, yeah, this is what it looked like. This is the photo, this is what we'd like to buy. So. So anywho,
Did you get that?
Did I get it?
You
Yeah.
seem kind of confused while you're still staring at the picture. Okay.
I did this move away from page 17 onto the revenue plan before I got my question about the photo.
Matt provided these photos for us, and I think they're excellent.
Yeah, so he gets credit. See, Matt got credit because I asked about them.
Yes. Very good photos.
It's at Indy Premier up in Noblesville. So they just put in these fields and all the summit lines, which we do the exact same.
Perfect, absolutely perfect.
And page 17, sorry, not
Oh, yeah.
sure, but sticking with before we get to the revenue plan. What's the point you're making here?
I just wanted to make sure you know where field 9 and 11 are in relation to Hearst Farm Park.
That's all that was. Okay. Here. Now, you can move on.
Oh,
Nobody else has questions before we move off of
Excellent.
these pages.
Well, during our meeting with the commissioners, they wanted us to produce a document similar to this, and that's what we did. But I wanted for you to review it first And if you have questions, because I will be asking you one big question in the end, and the question will be, is the park board willing to pledge at least $30,000 every year for 20 years for this project? Keep that in mind when we're talking about this, okay? Excuse me. And I also want to get into the thing of the Cutters. We have met with Lewis, but he has not met with his board. So his board has not approved anything in this. But what we did, we gave an illustration. If Cutters would give 20,000 each year for 20 years, 25,000 for 20 years.
Correct.
Oh, oh, yeah, so sorry, yes, we have stapled or individuals, whichever you like.
I got one. She's got one. Oh, you did. Oh, I got it.
Sorry, Joe.
Geez, Joe, come on.
You expect me to print it out or you never did. So you're gonna give me a hard.
So if you look at this document and you look at page 5, 6, and 7. This is a spreadsheet that illustrates Cutters gives 20,000, 25,000, or 30,000. It remains, our remains 30,000 throughout this illustration. We can change the numbers any way we want. Because Monroe County government wants to know, what do they need to come up with in 10 years? What do they need to come up with in 20 years in order to replace the turf and the shock pad? So these illustrate 3 different amounts for Cutters, 1 amount for us. It's not we just had to pick a number, so we picked that number. And it also illustrates the investment that Monroe County government has. If you look toward the bottom a little, you'll see initial investment from Monroe County government, 10-year Monroe County government, 20-year Monroe County government, 20-year maintenance investment, 20-year total investment of the entire project. And below that is the economic impact of 1 tournament, 2 tournaments, or 3 tournaments for each 20 years. You can do the math backwards. As you can see, the total economic impact will be much larger than the total investment in 20 years. The commissioners wanted to see this illustrated.
Just to clarify,
Yes.
that bottom table, that's 1 tournament a year for 20
One,
years?
yes, that's 1 tournament for 1 tournament. If we only get 1 tournament a year for 20 years, each 20, that's it.
One tournament in a 20-year period.
Every year.
Every year. Every
20 tournaments.
20, okay.
It'd be 20 tournaments.
1 tournament a year, okay. Just looking at those numbers and I'm like, wow, well, I need to get into the soccer tournament
Yeah.
because
Well-
I thought it was 1 tournament every 20 years. It's
No,
1
no,
tournament
it's
a
20
year for 20 years,
for
or
20.
2 tournaments a year for 20.
Right, it
Okay.
just kind of gives you an illustration, and we show you how we do math, and even if you don't like Visit Bloomington and the national average of $158 per day, even if you cut that in half, still the total economic impact is greater than our investment.
Where's the $158 figure?
Well, 2 days times 50 teams times 41 people, that's $158 per day per person.
Oh, there's, okay.
Gives you the economic impacts.
That's where that number gets to be there.
And then $158 a day.
Well,
They're bringing tents. They're gonna live in tents, right?
no, this is an overnight stay. They usually, man, if you go to these tournaments, they buy $60 t-shirt, $100 sweatshirt, or they have all the food for the kids. They have grandma and grandpa there. They have then their hotel stay. So even if you don't think, oh, $158, that's way too high. Even if you put it in half,
So that money and that impact is to the department or to
that
the
is to the community, to the community,
$158 a day to the community
Per person,
per
per
person,
person.
yeah.
per person.
Each person that attends the tournament is bringing $158 into the community.
Okay, so if you have a family of 4,
And they're all staying in the same hotel room, it's.
well,
You have a family of, yeah, you have a family of 4, then that would be, $600.
I just think it's a low ball. It was.
Oh, it's low. Okay.
Really,
Well,
really conservative.
this is the number that we got from Visit Bloomington and Visit Bloomington, so we take the $158, we're not gonna make up the number. They gave us the
There's some
number.
people that don't spend anything, there's some people that are gonna be spending, you know, going
I
home.
would say, I think that sounds about right.
It's kind of an average.
Yeah, and this is just an example. This is a mid-sized youth soccer tournament, 50 teams, 2 days, 41 people. Come with one, right now, come with one team. That includes the coaches, the grandma, grandpa, our dad, mom, kids. Whoever's coming with the children, and that's why youth tournaments are veterans. They come with.
Grandma and grandpa usually have a little bit more money than mom and dad do, right?
They do. So these are just averages, and we didn't make these numbers up.
Would it be possible to figure out what that number looks like? Cause that's the economic impact to the community.
Community.
Is there a way to see what? I know that it would all depend on how you price things,
That's us.
but is there a way to see what Parks
Yes,
is getting?
yes, if you go to page 4. John and Matt looked into the tournaments. And John, you want to talk about this paragraph?
Yeah, so it's hard to guess because you don't really know how many fields, even if we have 2 artificial turf fields, how many a tournament will be used. They might be using the 2 artificial turf fields. They may be using the 2 artificial turf fields with the 10 other soccer fields. What we can say is that when we have a tournament on the smaller side, we're typically seeing around $2,000 in field rental fees. A bigger tournament like the Yeagley Classic, well, not the Yeagley Classic, but Hoosier Cup, that equivalent that's using the whole facility, it's closer to $5,000 or $6,000 in rental fees. So depending on how many we did per year, you can come up with a best guess, an educated guess. But it really depends on how many fields are renting, how long they're renting.
So the department doesn't get oodle rich, the community will. And that's how they're looking at this.
And our money is in the rental of the facility.
Yeah.
Fields.
But I mean, that's the money that we would be, what you were just talking about in terms of our $30,000 every year for the next 10 years. That's where we're gonna be pulling that money from.
Correct, yeah.
So that's why I'm asking that question is,
In pages 3, well, I guess it would be more, page 4 kind of lays out a little bit how we would intend to cover our 30s, the departments.
And also, we're not saying that these synthetic turf fields will give us, the department, $30,000. Who knows? They may give us 15, they may give us 20. But remember, we're taking in, let me get that number. And I have it memorized. That's not it. Oh, we're taking in 2022, we took in over $124,000. So from everybody.
He said, I think it's 126.
Okay, well, you did round up, Yeah, so we're not saying that these turf fields are going to make us $30,000 richer. They are not. They, we're gonna try to sell as much as we can for our 30,000, and what's left over, we'll just take from our regular rental fees. But I feel comfortable that 30,000 is reasonable for our department financially. And of course, I know Molly would write an MOU between us, the commissioners, and Cutters. So everyone knows what, and I'm sure there'll be things like, if there's an apocalypse or a pandemic, that we understand that you may not be able to put your pledge of 30,000 this year because something really bad happened. 20 years is a long time.
Those things are fine.
Right, but I'm sure she'll write it in. So we think if the council and commissioners want to find $4 million, that $30,000 from our budget for 20 years is a reasonable amount. You may not agree with that, but I think it's reasonable. We have talked in the past to take a little money and put it aside for maintenance or this or that. Kind of think of this as what this is. It's to replace the carpet for the synthetic turf every 10 years. At least for the, we're just going out to 20. I won't be here in 20 years, so they'll figure out what to do with it.
Let you retire.
So if you've got a chance to look at this, and we talked to Lewis, he has a brand new board.
Yeah.
Again, well, every July, he has a brand new board. So he needs to go and talk to them like, hey, Lewis went in public meetings to say, Cutters is on board with this program. They do want to help out. He has to tell the board, wow, this is really great synthetic field. Matt calculated they'll be getting around 500 more hours per field of play on those synthetic fields. So we believe it's an easy sell for Lewis to say, look at what we are getting something in return. We're getting a lot of hours on these synthetic fields. Plus they have the rental fees. If you read it, by the end of their agreement, they'll be paying $99,000 a year in rental fees, plus whatever they can divvy up between 20 and 30,000, they think is their range.
For their replacement fee.
For the replacement fee. And I think the commissioners and council just want to see a little effort from our part and a little effort from Cutters. And they'll have to decide in 10 years, they're gonna have to bond for it. They're gonna, it'll be up to them to figure out how to fund the rest of it. This is reasonable and attainable. I'm not here saying, oh, we're gonna throw them $1 million. That's not reasonable and it's not attainable, and it's not attainable for Cutters they have been giving scholarships out, and Lewis wanted to be here, but he had an emergency and he was not here. But they actually give money out, as in they pay for the kids, insurance of the Indiana Youth Soccer. They pay for the coaches, so is the scholarship worth something? And they're giving out $40,000 to $45,000. And I put a lot of information about Cutters in here, so people understand that they're a 501c3. And they do have costs and they have good intentions. So I'm not here to bring their bank. I want to be able to make sure that they can do scholarships and they can pay their rental fees and they could pay for a little of the replacement of the car. So this is where we're at. The council is going to talk to the commissioners and talk about funding. So if we can come, us and Cutters can come with a little money on the table, I think it'll go a long way. So you may not be comfortable with 30, but that's where we're at. And if you want to discuss the amount.
Phil has his hand up.
Oh, sorry.
I was just asking, I know that we've got North and Yeagley tournaments. Have you talked to them about the effects of the increase in rental fees and whether they would opt to continue to play on the grass fields rather than the turf?
Well,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Phil. Oh, the Jerry Yeagley is a Cutters tournament, so the fees won't change. We're already locked in for 5 years with them. So that wouldn't, it doesn't matter if they play on them, if they don't play on them. Hoosier Cup, Matt, would they pay a higher fee, Hoosier Cup, to play on those fields? Or we're at our,
I would imagine they will, because I think they clear around 20,000 north, what I've heard. In the tournament, so.
now with those two tournaments, we're talking about additional tournaments besides those two. We're talking about working with Visit Bloomington for groups that normally don't use our facility. So when we tell them the fee, they'll pay it. If they would like to come here. It could be Quidditch USA. It could be, what other sports has he been in?
Oh, gosh.
He has a list of items. Visit Bloomington has a list of items. So these are additional tournaments. I'm not, we have Hoosier Cup. If Yeagley comes here or there, or, those are just typical tournaments. We want to gain additional tournaments.
Bill, one other thing to add to that, we haven't talked to anybody from Hoosier Cup specifically, but I think a lot of tournament directors and organizers are more incentivized to pay a higher rate for artificial turf just because they know that they're gonna be able to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other issue, is if it rains, then the tournament gets washed out, whereas if it's
Right.
Yeah.
uses synthetic fields, they can still play, so that's gonna be, I think, a bit of a selling point as well.
Well, and Bill too, if you remember last month, it's the gentleman who got our next.
Oh, Lewis.
Lewis also commented about part of it with the high school tournaments is more attraction to better players, better team. A lot of the high-end high schools are going to artificial turf. And, you know, those are the schools that draw in more of your recruitment for college level sports and continuing on. And so I don't think that it would be a problem for drawing in the high schools that want to play on turf. And you're probably, if anything, you're going to get better tournaments, better play, and you know, people are going to be willing to travel further. You're not just going to get Columbus schools or South Indy, you know, you might even have schools coming down from South Bend, Lafayette, who knows where, so.
Anything else, Phil?
Yeah, that answers it. Thank you. Another thing was, have you contacted the other users that again may or may not use a turf and may prefer the grass, such as frisbees and the Quidditch and such as that? What effects may that have from an economic standpoint for us?
Well, Phil, if you look at page, hang on.
Oh, yeah, he did. Yes.
Page 4, Kevin. for-
Yeah, I think Yeah, page 4, number 2 is other field rentals. John and Matt calculated around $4,000 to $6,000 for our users now that might pay. We don't think a lot, you know, they may say, you're right, Phil, they may say, I want to stay on grass because I don't want to pay the higher fee. So our $4,000 to $6,000 is a very conservative guess. We believe some people will jump for the opportunity, which includes our house adult teams. So I think it's a very conservative number. But not everyone is going to jump to turf because they don't want to pay the extra money, which is absolutely fine for us because it's going to be a busy field. So we're not going to get oodle rich on that.
Anything else, Phil? I don't want to ignore your hand and stuff because
So just speak up, Phil. You're not this stuff.
Well, did you ever say how much you estimate that we would get from new tournaments coming in? I know that the economic impact is anywhere from 13 to 38 million, depending upon how many over a 20-year period. But how much does that go to accrue to the park board?
The tournament is $6,000 to $18,000. That's still a concern. We were very conservative in our numbers because we do not want to oversell what we are able to do. We aren't getting rich, but the community will be.
And how many teams would it take to get the 18,000?
The 18,000 number would be on the higher end, so closer to a tournament of like the Hoosier Cup size, which is using the whole facility for an entire weekend.
Okay.
And then the 2,000 or 6,000 a year based on 2 or 3 tournaments would be similar to like what we had with the Quidditch tournament. They just used 2 of our fields for the whole weekend.
All right.
So that would be the lower end.
And we have interest in club sports, college club sports, just tell me that if I was. You know, sometimes they say, hey, we want Michigan State to come down. Boy, they'll probably pay to go on that turf field, I assume.
Yeah, I think the big thing for us will be now, we have 5 more months we can rent fields. Or we close at the early November and don't open till after spring break. Now, you know, days in February and November, December, teams still play all the way through to December. They'll be able to run out in fields during these times.
Okay, so Kelly, you've covered through page 7. You have comments about 8 or 9?
And this is, page 8 is from Andy Knutz's report, just so you can know the summary page. This is the summary page. Page 9 is another budget page for, now, these numbers will change if natural infill is chosen. And then we can take the crumb rubber part off of it, you know, the budget will change, but it's not gonna be higher. So Andy calculated everything in there, so. This is what we're talking about right now. Easier. I'll have a speech if you like. Thanks for my not. Cheers. I was trying to come quietly, but that's all right. Penny was at another meeting and she's busy. But we're talking about the Paris Athletic Complex capital turf replacement revenue plan that you probably haven't had time to even peruse. And we're asking the park board at least, maybe less, at least to pledge $30,000 each year for 20 years. To go towards the replacement of the synthetic turf and the shock pad when needed. We're also asking Cutters, their board has not seen this yet. And Lewis said they might be able to swing between $20,000 and $30,000 per year. They need to have a solid amount. They can't just keep, you know, bumping all over the place. They need a solid amount.
He would be in a stronger position to make his case if this board had taken its position.
I think it will help him.
Yes.
I don't know, you know, I'm not negotiating right now with Cutters. It's between 20 and 30,000. 30,000 is the high end for them. You know, because they don't want to take from scholarships.
So let's hear from some board members. What do you think about that? $30,000 a year, 20 years would be our replacement cost.
It would be your pledge, your share. Would be your share. Our share.
I've been on the board, which is we have spent a great deal of our board time talking about our facility and how to maintain it and how to make it better. And it seemed to me that this is a step towards where we wanted to go. And if we don't have to talk about car maintenance anymore, I would be thrilled.
We might save 30,000 in staff time, just not having to talk about it.
I know I'm like the newest one here and I've not been around too long to know what the budgets look like on a longer period of time in terms of spending and things, but just in the 6 months I have been around, I've seen a lot of money spent towards new playground, splash pad, and just being completely new to Monroe County and my visits to the parks, you can tell that there's a lot of new infrastructure in a lot of places. And what that tells me is that there's already been a lot of money invested, which is money that won't need to be invested in the coming 10 years. Such as new playground at Flatwoods, you know, how much longer will it be till we have to invest another $30,000 at Flatwood or whatever, you know? So personally, I think it's great and I'm 100% for it. But also I feel like I want it known that I'm well aware that my vote is not doesn't carry as much weight as some of you guys, since I do not have a history of dealing with the budget to understand it, but I think that it would be awesome, and it does show how forward thinking these parks are going, and it's awesome, and I know that county has kind of compete with some of the city park stuff, but I think that we do really well jobs.
But your comment about investment elsewhere is pertinent to today. Joe, I can't believe that you don't have a comment. Well, because,
No, actually, I think the $30,000 figure is a very reasonable. For what we would be getting, now that's assuming that the commissioners and council are willing to fund the vast majority, because ours is just a little piece of. Well, but, I don't have a problem at all with $30,000.
So is the plan to take this money and invest it?
Well, I've already been in contact with the county auditor's office, and they've been in contact with the state board of accounts already. And we all came to a conclusion that it would be best for us to put this money in our current non-reverting account 1179. And what we can do is we'll keep a spreadsheet, and the auditor's office will help us do everything we need to do. So every time, say cutters come with the $25,000 checks every January, we'll put that into 1179. Say we do 30, that's, there's our money. And we'll make sure on that account line that you can't touch what this is every year. And, which you weren't here, I'm sure Molly would be writing an MOU between the commissioners, the park board, and the cutters, so everyone knows that this money is going to be saved. You're not going to spend it willy-nilly on something. And each year I'm going to tell the politicians about this, because in year 20, this account with your money and everyone else's money might be $800,000. And they're like, what? That's a lot of, what are you doing with that money sitting there? Well, there's an MOU. This is how we keep it tracked for each year, And at the end of the year, it's either going to be 600,000 or 500,000 for this project. The remainder is your all's money that you take good care of, where when you need to buy a roof for something, or a pump, the money that you have to deal with it. It is best not to create another account, because the state board of accounts told the auditor's office, we cannot transfer funds from one non-reverting account to another, which would make a very big problem for us, because our money's coming into 1179. We could not transfer it to this account. Wouldn't that make accounting easy? But it's not going to happen. We cannot. In my dream world, cutters would come with the check, we'd put it into a new account, we'd have 30,000, put it in a new account, and that would happen 20 times.
You would have a designated.
Yeah, but that cannot happen. So we can do it another way, keep track of spreadsheets, keep track of everything. Everyone knows every year I'll tell them, hey, don't forget, that's not, that money's being saved.
I think Gatsby says that we can have sub-accounts.
Well, you can have, but we can't transfer.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's the problem.
yeah,
That's,
well, you can transfer between sub-accounts, because they don't have to exist.
No, they said absolutely not. You cannot transfer between one non-reverting account to another non-reverting account.
I think you're saying sort of have 1179A and 1179B.
Exactly.
So there's just.
There's no, that's
separate lines within the account.
We can ask again, but they talked to state board of accounts, and they have it on an email that no, absolutely not.
Well, Gatsby, that's the government accounting, I mean, that's what they say.
Well,
So there's no way we could use that money to grow some more money. I can't.
well, remember, our money doesn't grow money.
Yeah, I know.
It goes to the treasurer, and the treasurer takes care of things. We don't get the extra. Or that's the interest.
But if the interest earned was also dedicated in that account, we're not allowed to do that.
Well, that would be to state board of accounts, however they can figure that out. If that's a whole nother issue.
Because they have probably money sitting there not earning a dime.
Well, it does earn a dime, but But it's not our dime. It's not our dime, it's the county dime, but we can ask. We can, we'll make sure all the financials are what the state board of accounts says we can do and what the.
We understand none of that money is available for anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
could say if the Parks Board money, obviously, which is somewhat different, could we funnel the Cutter's money through the foundation? Use that to generate some more income in a restricted way. And then.
That would be attorneys and the auditors and the state board of accounts that, it sounds messy, but yes. Anything can be done with a lot of legal writing.
The shoulder shrug there, that was.
$300,000 or $400,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for
Yeah.
today's.
For today's business.
You need or hope for approval,
Pledge.
commitment, a pledge or for $30,000 from the board of every year.
Next 10 years.
For 20 years.
And which is church.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Obviously, the whole thing is completely done, actually getting this.
Yes.
Another issue.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, contingent or pending needs to be in the motion. Which would, that simply gets the ball moving and nothing else.
That's all this does.
So we need a motion for that.
That would be wonderful.
So the motion would be that the Parks Board commits or agrees to commit $30,000 a year towards our, what do we call it, it's the turf capital. Capital turf replacement revenue plan. For the next 20 years, contingent upon obviously are actually getting synthetic fields.
Second. I second it. Moved and seconded to commit $30,000 a year for 20 years to the capital turf replacement revenue plan contingent upon whatever you said, it's already recorded, thank goodness. Okay. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Might have comments, I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you probably haven't had time to.
I say go on the spot, so.
Well.
Anything we got our eyes, Joey, just get her out.
That you have survived.
I think this is the kind of thing that the commissioners would like to see, in my mind, because we want to know that you're thinking long-term. Want to know, we know that there's going to be significant replacement costs coming down the road, and this shows that you're not afraid to face that.
And we don't want to over promise.
I don't think we can. Yeah, sure.
Well, and now, and I know we've already passed the motion. Well, I would vote on it.
Yeah, I have a question also.
All right, go ahead.
So hopefully there'll be additional revenue generated because you have these turf fields. Where would that additional revenue go? Will if that go or the replacement cost?
No, we only have 30,000 in the game. We won't be putting any more than 30 a year, and Cutters would put something between 20 and 30. There won't be anything additional.
And now that we've kind of, this thought just kind of popped in my head. I almost wonder if it would be beneficial to add in an additional contingency on the motion that says, we are agreeing to 30,000 for the next 20 years. In 5 years, we'll revisit the opportunity to grow that number because by then we'll have a better idea of, in 5 years, hey, we are rolling in it on tournaments. We should be committing 45 instead. Because I think it'd be better for us to tack on an extra 5 every year. And then when we hit the 20 mark, we have this extra, you know.
I don't think we need to amend the motion. We can revisit the subject in
Yeah,
5 years
I
if
mean,
we're rolling the dough.
Okay.
But what you did remind me of is that the motion did not include participation by the cutters. We are committing
That would be.
this amount of money contingent upon the cutters' participation and the presence of or support from the commissioners and councils.
So does the first one die on the vine and then you want to do a different motion? Or you-
Well, I think it's the same motion with the.
We'll see that.
addition of,
You can amend her motion. We don't have to do any
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, so we're contingent upon the fields being installed in the first place. The support from the cutters and the agreement from Monroe County government that that this is what they want to do. So,
Now, is there a second to the amended motion?
I second it.
Phil, comment?
Yeah, I have are we just going to have an annual report or will it, if we would happen for some way, shape or form, get a, surprise donation or surprise monies, would that be reported to the board, more frequently than annually?
We can update you anytime we get a large donation, Bill. And remember, each year we have an annual report for the complex. We will, of course, include a whole synthetic section and spreadsheets.
and in light of Scott's issues, this simply commits us to $30,000. It doesn't say that we can't increase or change. the
At
amount.
least, yeah.
We can't lower it, but we can increase.
So we have a motion on the floor. Anything else, Phil?
No, thank you.
Anyone else? Comments?
What about the way she amended it? It just sounded like the cutters' participation. Do we want any amount of money on that?
I was kind of, he needs to talk to his board first, so I wouldn't like to put him in a corner. We believe, and Lewis believes, between 20 and 30,000 is where their capacity is at. If they still want to do scholarships, which I think is a good thing to do scholarships. And I put in this, their vision, their mission statement, so you can see how much they're committed to scholarships and the kids. I mean, I suspect, it'll probably end up at 25.
Well, that is a valid point that you make, but should there not be enough commitment from the cutters forthcoming, this board can essentially undo what we're doing today. If we don't have, because that partnership is critical to going forward, and if the partnership doesn't exist, then we put that in the minutes. With the motion on the floor and not hearing any further comment. Bill?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Edward?
Yep.
Evelyn? Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Yeah,
Motion passes. Wow. Moving on, oh, how did you do?
Can I ask one question? My guess stands, but can I ask a question? Would 20,000 from the cutters be enough to fund what we're trying to do?
It's only partial. If you actually go to page.
I know it's partial, but I mean, if 20 is all they can give, is the whole thing gonna fall apart?
Well, we can
That would be up to
revisit
the
that
council
when-
and the commission.
we can Revisit that when we get.
Yeah, I mean,
to the
the-
next step.
the question is, if this facility is built, it's going to depend on what we've come through with being approved by the commissioners. And if it doesn't get approved, this is moot, so.
I personally, a $4 million project. 1,000 here or there is not going to, I would assume, push the needle one way or the other. I mean, in our examples, it's 500,000 to 600,000. I think it needs to be in that range.
Yeah. That was what I was at.
Yeah, I think it needs to be in that range. It can't be $1. And the commissioners and council are just gonna, I mean, this is reasonable and attainable. We can do better, great. I don't, I'm very conservative, actually. I don't want to overpromise. I don't want to say, hey, guess what? In 10 years, I'm gonna give you $1 million. No, I'm not. Probably not.
I mean, there will be savings, with the LED lights, with the other things that are, we won't have to pay for water, all kinds of other things.
There's a lot of things. Now, but keep in mind, on here, we told you it's gonna be fields 9 and 11. 9 and 11 currently have no drainage, no irrigation, so we're not paying for water now. But if we wanted to improve those fields with drainage and irrigation, we would have to give CBU basically $25,000 extra each year
Well, and they're also
for water.
your lesser wanted fields currently.
Yes,
So you're not taking out your cash crop to replace it with a cash crop. You're adding a second cash crop. You already have your best fields on the east side over there, and now you're adding more better fields. So we're
I mean,
expanding.
if we were going to improve these fields to the point that they would be really beneficial to us, it would cost us a fair bit of money
correct,
to invest in grass.
correct.
Even if
Plus,
it didn't cost as much as it would cost.
Plus, and Joe's comment about safety, these two particular fields going from a field with no drainage or irrigation to synthetic, I would rather fall on the synthetic fields than I do on.
These fields are currently play.
Yes. So I'm letting you visualize that. No drainage, no irrigation during the drought, how hard these fields are currently. So I would rather, if my head hits the ground, I'd rather hit it on synthetic as a shot pad.
Well, more discussions about this to come.
Do you have more questions?
To say the least.
No,
I'm sorry.
We all, I'm not an official member here. But I think we do have to worry about how to raise at least part of that $4 million to get the thing in place.
Well, and here's the kicker on
You know,
that.
the IU Health Foundation, Cook, I mean, we should be going out and we need to think of really substantial amounts here, not, as Kelly said, not 1,000.
And this is only for the turf replacement. It has nothing to do with the initial investment. Because right now, we don't have the capacity for that kind of money. It is what it is. I don't want to like tell people a story that isn't true. But we don't have that type of money. And if we can find it in the community, that would be wonderful.
But I think to what you're saying, you have talked about this a lot over the last several years. And it will take some substantial additional money just to get this off the ground. I don't think that we have 4 million in the county coffers to make this happen right now.
But on the other hand, making this type of a commitment, you may make it easier for us to go out and solicit.
As,
And I'm willing to help with that.
well, yeah, speaking to that, has there been any efforts or has there been any even just like speculation on, oh yeah, we talked to Joe Deep Pockets Smith, and he said that he'd be willing to give 500,000.
Well, I was on Kirkwood and I saw Mark Cuban actually walk by, but I didn't. Now, Matt.
I think he actually is a soccer fan.
He's a lacrosse guy. Rugby, sorry. He's rugby. So I didn't get out of my seat to go talk to him, but no, we haven't, because we didn't know what to sell or we didn't know the product we were asking or the amount. So no, I didn't talk to Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban is part owner of some sport league team.
Yeah, he's, an NBA team.
NBA team.
Yes, we can.
I thought it was the MLS team.
And he hangs out with doing sports events.
Big time, those cute socks.
So, but yeah, I mean, we didn't know what to ask for yet.
Yeah, we've never been close enough to really approach anybody and say, with your contribution, this is a possibility.
This is what we excited
So, I mean, you know, they're gonna say, well, I'm gonna figure out all of it. Or we can make those pictures be funny, because otherwise they'll just laugh at us. And this is a big part.
So these are steps forward, steps forward.
And where I'm envisioning this is, you get naming rights for 10 years, kind of thing. This is an in perpetuity kind of thing.
I don't know if you read, I try not to be funny in my stuff, but on page 4, on number 5, on the naming rights. And people on the board will appreciate Dave Ferguson, former board member and local attorney. He once stated in a board meeting that naming something in perpetuity constitutes a long time. But we can always decide the amount of time in relation to the sponsorship amount.
I mean, how many name changes does Cambridge had in the last 20 years?
So, because he was actually commenting about IU naming buildings forever for just $1 billion. Sounds like a amount of money, but but forever is a long time. It is a long time. So, yeah, there could be, and obviously the commissioners would have to be involved because this is a big ticket item.
I got a $20 bill in my pocket. Can I name it for a day?
We'll let you sit on it, but sit on a piece of paper.
I can go post for a day.
I can have a label maker sticker put on a goalpost for a 24-hour period.
I think the dunk tank with this hat on might actually do some good, right?
Yeah, if I find a Purdue graduate that's willing to fund the whole thing, can we paint it black and gold?
There you go. So we're moving forward. Doesn't mean it will happen, but we're moving forward.
Now the ball is in the cutter's court.
Yes, to do that and the council and commissioners to, so they at least have, okay, information. They can do what you want with it.
Moving on to the next item of business, C. Recommend a name for the mitigation property.
Oh my gosh, yeah, here we go again. I don't even know where did my packet go?
You want mine?
I don't know, I don't, where, so it's fun. Yes, all right, we have talked about this a few times. There's a property called the mitigation property, and it's on Victor Drive. And the limestone greenway traverses right through it. At some point, it will become a trailhead for the limestone greenway. The commissioners have already hired, let's overhear Cooper James to do a preliminary investigation of putting a bridge there called Bridge 83. It's a vehicular bridge on Dillman Road and Lisa Ridge from the Highway Department in 2026, the year, would like to pick it up and move it to the mitigation property. And let's overhear for James with the bridge engineers are going to make sure that bridge fits and everything's good. And they're going to do a preliminary design for a trailhead and give us numbers so we can write a DNR grant to assist with all that.
So this will go over that crease bridge.
Yes, and all over the.
Whatever side of that.
Well, yes, county engineer Paul Satterley truly believes, without doing a lot of math, that the bridge will fit and it'll be proper, but we need a little more information. Because what I don't want is Lisa Ridge to pick that bridge up, drop it in the field at the mitigation property, and it sits there for another 100 years. In the wrong location, just setting in the grass. So I don't want that to happen. This is why we're moving forward. But in the meantime, I really would like to name it the Limestone Greenway Park. I recommend that, but we would recommend it to the commissioners who can accept or say, we don't like that name. You can name it anything you want. It's just that the commissioners will be accepting sometime in the future more mitigation properties. So I would love for this to have, is that Andy chuckling? I would love for us to name it something besides the mitigation property. It's just go forward. So people say, well, which mitigation property? Oh, I can say it's called the Limestone Greenway Park, or you can name it anything you want. Less words is always best for me because we have to make a sign. And we probably call it the LGP.
I got lost. bridge discussion. Where a bridge and where's it coming from and why are we putting a bridge? I don't know anything about this mitigation zone. I didn't even know where it was on the map until you just gave me an address.
Excellent, excellent. There is a mitigation property that the state of Indiana has given to the commissioners. It was to mitigate the construction of I-69. Well, it came with a lot of restrictions, and the public cannot come to this property until the year of 2026. At that time, it just so happens, a county has a vehicular bridge on Dillman Road, cars go across it right now, that is going to be replaced, which means they're gonna pick it up. And we all think, the county highway and myself and engineers, that it could be driven down the road, it's not very far.
Talking about this. picture.
Yes. And it could be, there's a creek here,
Mhm.
and it can be put down, and now the Limestone Greenway can go further, because now we have a bridge to get across the creek. And we would also have to DNR for money, as we always do. But Butzelberger Cooper James will help us with the grant numbers. And if they need to they will help us for a few years, just this contract isn't one and done. They will help us again, like, oh, now it's this year, you need this much money to make sure the bridge gets where it needs to go. And we can expand the trail another, say, mile or so.
Save us having to build a slingshot that, you know, takes
Correct.
to people from that part of the trail. It's the next part of the trail so they can continue from this.
The Limestone Greenway Park. That's obvious what it is.
And I can't tell you that to commissioners like that, but I need to come in a work session to say, here's the recommendation. You're more than welcome to name it anything you so desire. I just think mitigation property is wearing thin on my nerves.
Oh, it's pretty on
No, it's like, which mitigation properties? There's like 12 of them. So.
So we have one recommendation for Limestone Greenway Park. Any other suggestions?
Sounds like a good name to me.
I will recommend it to the commissioners, and you all can do here nor there, whatever you would like.
The only comment I have would be, there was recently a discussion at a plan commission meeting where the Historical Society came in and discussed about the extensive history of the limestone in our community, and it was forming around some different road name changes, possibilities, and so on and so forth. And some of these different names that mean a lot to our community because of the limestone history. And the only thing I would wonder is if maybe there should be an opportunity for somebody like, say, the Historical Society, or somebody to say, hey, that particular area is beneficial because I'm, based on the map I'm seeing, there's a quarry right by that.
There's several quarries in it.
Well, like where I'm getting, so Hunter Valley Road, that was a recent discussion, and Hunter Valley is a historical name, goes back to a particular type of limestone, yada, yada, yada. And I'm wondering if maybe that would be beneficial to add a historical value to that particular pocket of land due to something, because limestone Greenway doesn't really.
Well,
Yeah, I
And
think
that
the
main
issue with
already
that
there.
for me is the public will have a really pretty idea, whereas if you tell it from the Limestone Greenway, they know that trail is going through there, they walk on it.
and it'll be a
And it will be much easier for the public, which has no concept of history, to figure out what we're talking
we
about.
can go to historical science.
No, to be quite frank, I don't really care about the history behind that particular area. I'm just wondering if somebody else might want an opportunity, and if we offer it with the possibility of, hey, if you gotta fund the historical signage, you gotta fund this, blah, blah, blah. But just throwing it out there, you guys can say, Edward, shut up and move.
No, I think it's very good comments, but
Just,
It seemed to be like that's the city. Commissioners are gonna make.
yeah,
We'll just make a recommendation.
And it sounds like we're gonna have to name a bunch more mitigation properties over the next 10, 15 years anyway, right?
well, they're only going to have to name one. The other ones are not going to be for public use. So they don't have to name them.
Is there a
There'll
motion?
only be one that will be a public park.
toll road number exit.
Well, and I can say too, that if Kelly first brings this to a work session, we don't typically vote on it in a work session, and so people have a week to 2 weeks
To comment.
in which they can make a proper proposal to it. That's.
Yeah.
But as we always say, the public's gonna call it whatever they want, number one, and number two, the easiest thing for the public to understand is probably the investment.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, please. Recommend to the commissioners the naming of litigation property at 6175 South Ridge Pike. A name of Limestone Greenway Park.
I'll second that motion.
We can second it to recommend Limestone Greenway Park to the commissioners. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, Tina?
Carol,
Yes.
Edward,
Yep.
Ella,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Evan, and Phil.
Yes.
Motion passed, thank you.
Moving on then to new business and pages 21 and 22. The 2024 proposed county general budget.
Excellent. That's neat. All right, if you go to page 21 and 22, page 22 goes over any change in any of these lines. And I made it one page because everyone loves one pages. I can go line by line if you'd like, and we can discuss each one, or if you have a general comment. I don't know how you want to start this off. Budgets are due in a couple of weeks. or a week.
So the financial manager position is just because it's a new person, which wouldn't have a longevity.
Correct. Well, it's, yes, the years of service. It's a certain, yeah, years of service.
Rather than line by line, are there questions or observations about these items? Already read.
One big one on recreational supplies is that we have one-time purchases. $41,000 will replace all the soccer goals that are remaining in the complex. Does not include if we get synthetic fields. They have to have their own goals if we do that. But that will stop, that will complete that project. The council's been giving us around 30,000 each year to replace goals. 41,000 will replace the remaining old goals. 16.5 will replace 3 basketball system and 3 new pickleball system at Flatwoods Park. Andy Knus and I have been discussing, because what I think would be popular is that we have 2 full-size college basketball courts at Flatwoods. Take one of those courts, convert it into 3 pickleball courts, and then take the other college one, make it a high school, and also put a little goal for the little kids over here so they can shoot. So that's what we'd like to do at Flatwoods. This would be next year along with the new restroom. A lot of exciting things at Flatwoods.
It's obvious that park wants to be used.
Yes, so that's the one thing that sticks out in recreational supplies. And the council also wants to know, what's a one-time purchase? We know one time means it maybe in 10 or 20 years, we might need it again, but it's not every year. So in the year of 2025, they'll be able to reduce our amount of rec supplies because they're not buying soccer kits. And with that, we'll also need to resurface the basketball court. It's not bad, but we'll need 1.5 inches of asphalt. And Andy is going to be installing the basketball goals and the pickleball stuff. We would have probably autos from Indianapolis come and do the court lighting. So it would be wildly popular, I think.
I'm gonna turn around so Papa can see what.
Now, on equipment, the ATV, to replace it with the Bobcat U34. We just came in with another quote. The quote is a little lower, but we can always keep it high. And if we come in under budget, hey, that's great. And what this would be is summer deployment will be at Flatwoods Park. winter deployment will be either at Carthon Park or the Limestone Grandway. So it'd be very useful. And we would sell or trade in the ATV Palace, the 2004, which is not worth really much, but it would dispose, surplus that on the proper way. Oh, and another thing on the Greenway Professional Services, you notice, looks like we have taken over the duties from County Highway. We are now in charge of the removal of large trees and debris on the trail bridge on Fleck Mill Road. Large trees come down the creek and they start to accumulate on the bridge piers. And in order to keep that bridge safe for the next 100 years, we have bluestone, they come on the beach, I say, they have a big grappler. Pick all this debris up. That costs a little money, and plus, we are now in charge of the rapid flashing beacons on the greenways and the hawk signals. The last one that got damaged cost us almost $5,000. Well, there's two kinds of signals. One's called a hawk, H-A-W-K, and it's above. It's like flashing lights up here. The rapid flashing beacons are the pedestals that you push. And the sun tells you you can walk across. But one got hit on Loaf Road, and that cost us about $5,000. And we are in charge of those, and we will be getting the rapid flashing beacons on the Limestone Greenway next year for Dillman and Church Lane, which will improve safety. But in case someone in the winter slides off and takes it out, we can't find them, can't go after them or their insurance. It's our bill. It's not the highway's bill.
You don't know what happened to them.
No, the person who hit it disappeared.
Yeah.
And we put a big cone in front of it now too. You know, it wasn't the winter. Did it?
Try to picture where it is. How easy would it be to hit it?
If you're incapacitated, and you shouldn't be driving, you might miss the curb and hit it. But if you're a regular folks driving very safely, you should not be able to hit it.
Have to try.
You'd have to try to hit it, or if you slide off, you know, a winter accident, you can hit it. Because it is kind of like a S-curve or a.
So what do you need from the board?
Well, anyway, a comment if you think I've asked for too much, I've asked for too little, or if you have a comment on the county general budget. Now, the council is in charge of all personnel, so we just do what they tell us to do on that.
Do you need a motion?
Oh, that would be wonderful for county general, and then we'll go for each budget, but do you have any questions, or why did I do something? Or why is something less or more or anything?
I really like your page 22.
Okay.
All kinds of questions.
Yeah, yes.
No, I think it's very reasonable. It's not a large increase at all.
The increase in last year, no.
Yes. We did. Now, what's nice is that they like the one-time purchases, like, okay, that's off the docket and don't need that next year. For instance, the county council paid for, I don't know, even the caretakers upgrade, and then we, the Parks Department, paid for the maintenance upgrade, you know, so they're each about $30,000. And the park board paid for the commons upgrade, which was another, you know, whatever, $28,000. So, you know, we've been doing some projects, they've been doing some projects, everything's good. We have to make sure everything's no looking rough.
So it's important for us to not just automatically jump to commissioners or jump to.
Correct, we can take care of our own.
We should manage our own money, which I think we've done a good job at it. But there are things we can't possibly afford, so we have to. So I think it's very reasonable way of proposing.
Would you like to move?
I make motion we accept the proposed this would be the county general budget proposal for 2024 as presented on page 21.
In council does personnel, so.
Oh, yeah, the council does.
Yeah.
That's subject to the
So,
council.
I'll second that. Moved and seconded to approve the proposed 2024 budget proposal. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Tina?
Edward,
Yes.
Evelyn,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes,
Carolyn,
Yes.
Bill,
yes,
Carol.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to the next item of new business is the 2024 proposed non-reverting 1178-79 budgets.
correct, even though you don't have any authority over the 1178 budget, it's always nice if you like it. I can tell the council you liked it. Because they do have authority over that. As you notice, it's identical to last year. Cheryl Munson, who used to be assigned to our department, always said, you know, that's unless you have some particular project you're doing, keeping it the same keeps the conversation nice. In, I think we have, let's see. Right now in 1178, our cash balance is $71,699. Which we fix shelters and, you know, buy some equipment sometimes.
So there's no change to the proposed.
No change, unless you want to increase it, but I don't have a particular project that I can relate it to, so.
Okay, I need to. So I'll make the motion to approve appropriation for non-reverting budget 1178.
Seconded to approve. Proposed non-reverting budget 1178. Comments or questions? Hearing none, Tina?
Evelyn,
Yes.
Joe,
yes,
Carolyn,
Yes.
Kevin. Bill,
yes,
Carol,
Yes.
Edward.
Motion passes. And moving on to 1179. There are some changes here.
And what you do have authority over this account. And if you notice what's different about this, if you actually go like 1, 2, 3, materials and parts, it's like the third line down. That's a brand new line that, well, the commissioners have it, so I didn't name it. Parts is just in there. I'm suggesting that we pick up that line, just like the commissioners have. And then we do not have the line of aggregate, concrete, asphalt. We just have one line so we can, you know, like Andy, when he goes and buys, you know, he's buying stone, then he goes buys concrete.
That makes it more flexible.
It makes it more flexible and I like it. Line number. Let's see what else is different.
usually.
Correct, because we've gone through our projects, our big projects, the commons, the caretaker's house, the maintenance building. Plus, if we do get the money from the council, we'll, you know, get the asphalt resurfacing for the basketball court and pickleball court, the Flatwoods. We don't have any large projects down the way, and we can always come back to the park board and say, hey, you want to do this and you have the authority, we can talk about it, because obviously it's going to be a big project. I take a couple meetings to talk about it. So I'm comfortable with 50,000. And it may be a drainage problem.
So that's kind of those things that I was referring to where we're at a very up-to-date status with all of our parks. We don't have as much going into them right now after all the money we spent.
Correct. This is very good observation for only being here 6 months. We have nice playgrounds. The only thing that we'll have to do is at Detmer Park. It's not a large playground. We have to replace the top surface. But the subsurface is perfect. So we just have to do the carpet on it. That's not gonna be $1 million by any means. And I'm gonna be working with Andy and Stan, and we're gonna get prices. That'll be probably next on the docket, but it's not outrageous.
We've already replaced about every roof.
We replaced about every roof that we have, except at Detmer, but we're okay. It's all right. Now I will be saying this, but I'm not asking for money because the Jackson Creek Park, which is a neighborhood park, has a playground. That playground has come to its end of its life. At some point, we're just gonna need to pull it out. And it's in a floodplain. And it's just in a horrible location anyway. I'm not saying that we need to spend money on a playground there. We may just put in a swing set or something on higher ground. Because when that creek comes through, oh my gosh, our water is like this deep. Yeah, the playground is in.
And then the swimming pool,
It runs into.
water park,
And,
like fun.
you know, the local neighborhoods, they won't be happy that we're pulling it out but at some point. It needs to be pulled out, so, but I'm not proposing.
Unfortunately,
anything.
that part is flooding more and more because of all the stuff that's coming in from.
I mean, we can make little improvements at Jackson Creek Park where there's an easement. And maybe we could either buy the easement from the gentleman to make a nicer ADA access to the shelter. And maybe we could put something little up by the shelter, higher ground. And I think they would be happy with that. So that's down the line, no rush.
For another time.
For us.
Are there any questions or comments, other comments about 1179? Is there a motion?
As well, make this movie, so definitely to make motion that the board approves the appropriation for non-reverting budget 1179 for 2020. That proposed.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah. Moved and seconded to approve the proposed appropriation for non-reverting budget 1179. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, Gina?
Joe,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Evan, Bill,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Edward,
Yep.
Evelyn.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to Bugfest service agreements. That sounds like you, John.
Got these wrong. Okay, so there's two service agreements for Bugfest. One of them is Joe Lee's Traveling Flea Circus. Which is, what shall I call it, a theatrical performance. The other one is for John Coggy, who's a musician. He plays for 2 hours. Both of these gentlemen have been at Bugfest, gosh, for the last 4 or 5 years at least. The difference this year being that Bugfest is actually at Cars Barn Park. So it is, yeah.
It's gonna be awesome, everybody come out.
Yeah, if it's as successful as it was last year, then yeah, it'll be nice.
It will be.
It will be, you're right. A lot more parking at Carswell Park, which is great. But we now have to have service agreements with them since they're gonna be on county property. But anyway, the flea circus is for an amount not to exceed $100. The musical performance is an amount not to exceed $150.
I have a question. Has
Okay.
been signed?
They have not signed these yet.
Explain to them what might be the problem that I haven't.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but one of the differences, since they have to have a service agreement, is that the county requires liability insurance. An amount of, I think, $1 million per. Whatever the lingo is, so I'm not sure if Hilltop was requiring that. At their facility, I would guess not. Now Jungle Joe is a professional clown, so there's a chance that he might already have insurance. An individual like John Coggy, I'm not sure. So to be determined, but I wanted to go ahead and get park boards and commissioner approval for the agreement in advance, hoping that they'll be able to, well, the park boards, and then if they do sign, then we present it to the commissioners, but my fingers are crossed, it won't be an issue for them.
I make a motion to approve the service agreements. Book Fest 2023 with Joe Lee, not to exceed 100, and John Coggy, not to exceed 100.
second,
Bill, move in second to approve the service agreements for Emily's free service and John Huggy musical.
I do have kind of a funny story on the flea circuit, so. This is the first time, so Molly Turner King has a young son who has been to Bug Fest apparently for several years. I did not explain what the flea circus was to her because I had assumed that she had been to the event and knew what it was. His fleas are actually not real, like he pretends that there's a little flea and all the kids, you know, they jump off a diving board, things like that. Molly looked into the county's permitting requirements for traveling circuses. And then called me asking why we're paying $100 when he has to pay like 10,000 for his permit. Anyway, I thought that was fun. I then explained to her that the fleas are not real.
Well, now I
It's not
gotta
nice.
have to ask just how a traveling flea circus, how fleas travel.
I don't know how.
Yeah, with suitcases.
Oh, yeah, well, when they're not existent.
Training for the mayor.
That's, yeah, exactly.
You'd have to ask Jungle Joe. I'm sure he knows.
That's,
The amount of time commitment that it takes to become a professional police sergeant, frankly, you do not understand. No, that's. What to not comprehend.
Joe Lee is illustrated for newspaper.
I think so. Yeah, somebody has mentioned that in the past.
Well, now no longer has a job, so so they just eliminated it, so that was the cartoonist.
Wasn't aware of that. I'm sorry to hear.
Another issue.
What's a newspaper?
moving right along. So,
We vote on it.
well, no, we did not.
We had a motion and a second, but no.
Well, if I understood it correctly, we vote on the contents, that's not the word I wanted, of the service agreements. We do not vote then after legal briefs.
Correct. You're saying, here's the project, not to exceed this amount.
Yeah.
And then Molly takes it from there.
So we do.
I think it's both.
But then John went into.
Sorry, I totally agree. Need for you to ask for a roll call.
That's right.
Wow.
Carolyn. Yes. Evan. Bill.
yes,
Carol.
Yes.
Edward.
Yeah.
Evelyn.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Motion passes. So, John, Joe Lee has to have insurance
It is.
for the flea service.
Yeah, that's.
Imaginary fleas. Yes, yes.
Now, I told Kelly, part of his act is doing a handstand on a chair. So it may not be a bad idea to have the ability. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I rather doubt, but
Well,
We'll find it.
Yeah.
all performers have to pretty well carry that kind of liability insurance, because you never know when the child decides that they want to be part of the act and something goes wrong, so.
true. But musicians are the difference. Anyway, we can find out, because.
Pages 25 through 30, financial reports. Any comments or questions about those pages? And
Making a good collection.
One over next time.
Assuming that, balance to be pending.
Yes.
And then followed by a list of all the service agreements
That's how I keep track.
on another page.
On second basis.
Oh, we have a place. They just be missing.
Oh.
We have a place to talk about collections, which, this seems like we have a very good deal of it. We have something there that, so do you know how much last year's collections were for the second period?
We have it, we have not put it in the packet.
That'd be neat to have.
Oh,
Yeah,
Kay used to make that.
And I thought we were doing that for a while.
yeah, I think we were doing.
so
Yeah,
we,
Kay used to do that.
okay. So we'll complete the one for current and then current from the year prior.
Yeah, it'd be good.
That'll be
Same period of time.
writing that down, Tina.
Recorded.
All right.
I wasn't told to do that.
That's the way,
Make a note for Jamie.
that's the way to tell it.
Jamie, I'm gonna listen to 2 hours.
Yes. we'll say that. It would be page 32, is that what you want to prepare?
Yeah.
Okay, no problem, that's easy,
Anything else?
I think.
Yes, we've had that information in the past, and it's always interesting.
Yeah, it's all balanced and all that stuff. You know, there's all this.
Yes.
I hope everyone had a chance to read the Venetian reports.
Yeah.
Everything seems to be going well. And comments about those.
I do.
Yes.
And Andy, are you there? Anyway.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, you don't have to comment on this, but we believe that there will be a request in the future from the Fair Board, because we're actually very good neighbors now. We're very good neighbors. That during the fair or around the fair, they would like to borrow some of the park equipment. And I don't know if that's allowed or not. What we could do, and I'm for Molly, is if it's something with a motor on it, it has to be operated by park employees only if we're available, the equipment's available. Now, let's implement that doesn't have a motor, we could just lend it to them, like they need what was the thing they like to have, the Andy, what's?
So there's a couple things that, I'm on the fair, and in particular, I take care of the grandstand area, like the pit part of it. So things
He's
that,
volunteering.
Yeah,
He's on the
so-
board, the fair board. Yeah, he's volunteering. It's not on part-time.
yeah. So all week long during the fair, I'm there getting the track area ready for that night's events, whether it's moving mud and equipment or then spreading water and rolling. This year, what we could have used was our roller, and in years past, we've got a roller that we built years ago that we use for the soccer fields. And that doesn't have a motor, that's just pulled by a tractor. And then also what we have that we could really use is our Harley rake, which just like pulverizes the top layer of soil. So it makes it real smooth for anybody that's racing, or like the rodeo. That was something that they really wanted, that Taylor Construction, they actually had to come in and bring one in this year for the rodeo. So there's several things probably too, other than that we could always borrow, but and like the roller, it's not getting used right now. The Harley rake was, but in a normal summer, it's not necessarily going to be getting used right now either. So it's some random things like that would be really nice to be able to borrow. And then we could do some sort of banner up on the inside of the fence in there that said Monroe County Parks and Rec, and be sure to announce it. as one of the sponsors for all the events. We already have a couple advertising things up at the fair, and we like to have a good relationship with them, and so it just helps everything out.
So this would be up to county legal and the commissioners if.
Have a problem with it. If
And
it's-
an MOU.
if it's legal, and if they agree to replace it, if they break it.
So I didn't know your feelings on this if.
I guess that comment I think though is that if it's non-motorized, I don't see, I agree totally. It seems like our own equipment, however, if it is motorized, we ought to be the ones operating.
I would say if it's motorized, it would have to be our staff and we would have to have the time, we're paying them. Equipment has to be available, all of those kind of provisions. But yes, if it's our equipment, we have to have our operators.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
But-
during the week of the fair, I am there virtually all hours of the day and night. So having somebody there to operate it wouldn't be an issue either, because I'd be there. So
But we would be paying that, it'd be on our dime.
How much time is that, Andy?
it depends. I mean, so the rolling, I mean, I probably rolled for probably 2 or 3 hours with the one we ended up getting. And that was for one event. So I mean, it all depends. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have needed to roll that much if it had been Harley rigged for that one, but it hadn't been yet. And it was awful. It was a bad week out there. But for the whole week, 5 to 10 hours probably.
So something to think about. The request hasn't come through from the fair board yet, but I anticipate the request and we'll talk to Molly and to commissioners. Because I do know the commissioners give a sum of money, tax money to the fair board for the fair.
Yeah, yep, they
So
do.
it's pseudo government-ish, not really, but
Well.
that's a true statement, isn't it?
There's
They get-
tax money.
Yeah, they get
Yeah.
tax money.
Yeah, they get money from the commissioners.
We'll point out, you mentioned that this is a neighborhood and a partnership or a neighborly agreement partnership potential. Something that came to mind just now as Andy was talking about. We spent the better half of this meeting talking about fields 11 and 9 and the turf and the tournament potential. And if this, all these people are coming for the tournament, you gotta have a place to park for all those people. And if you open this partnership between the fair board and Cars Farm Park, I think it's a partnership that can go both ways with the exuberant amount of parking that they have just a short walking distance from 11 and 9 there. Andy, I'm referring to where all the parking is currently west of the horse barns.
Yeah,
I know obviously a gate or something would have to be built, but it is in my mind something that is a two-way street, so.
And this could be part of the negotiation, but we've already done that. We have the gate. We've been working with the fair for overflow parking for tournaments. So,
Yeah.
but I think they could be in the MOU to be a little more gateway.
Yeah.
But our relations with the fair board has been tremendous in the past. Wasn't so good.
Yeah, when I first tried the board, it was.
Right, but these are things that we can work together. We can figure it out legally and whatnot, and we like to be good neighbors for this particular event. So I don't know, maybe.
Any further business before the board?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask one question. Does the park board have any plans for what's gonna happen during the solar eclipse that's next April?
Yes.
Okay.
Autumn was going to give a report at this meeting, but she's going to give a report next meeting. Is right now, we're going to cancel all events at our parks, as in no athletics, no whatever, because everyone's afraid of traffic. And if we have a medical emergency, we would not be able to get the ambulance to Cars Farm Park. And Autumn is going to be doing a couple solar programs. I'm not sure if it's gonna be at Karst or at Flatwoods. You know,
We're not sure here.
but we're only doing a couple programs. Other than that, we're gonna bat and hatch. We're just gonna hunker down. We're just gonna hunker down. There's no overnight camping at Karst Farm Park. Just we don't have the facilities, we don't have hours, we don't have the outdoor light. So other than that, we'll be closing the park as normal.
The rumor is that somebody has rented all of the fairgrounds for that period and used for camping. And so there may be people coming through the gate.
Well, most likely. I mean, they can come through the gate during the daytime. We'll make sure it's locked. We have no outdoor park lighting per se. So odds are they will stay on the fairgrounds in their trailers and their campers and their tents.
Well,
But they can come during the day.
Unless they go over to one of the soccer fields to watch the solar eclipse and if they tear up the turf and things like that.
Well, it's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We can have staff out there protecting everything. And plus, we do have the, it'll be like anything else. We will protect our real estate.
And the fairgrounds will have security for that event as well, because an LLC did rent out the fairgrounds
Yes.
a couple years ago, but it'll just be full of campers, I'm sure.
So with that in the hatches, Autumn will do a couple programs. Pat's not gonna have any athletics on the field, so there'll be no traffic. We aren't causing any more traffic. So that's what we're doing.
They're expecting, all the hotel rooms in the area are already.
It's not a hotel room site.
So,
If
yes,
you have a house and you don't want to watch the solar eclipse, I recommend going on vacation and putting your house on Airbnb for the weekend. It will be reserved in a matter of a week.
so ours is very simple. We're not doing a lot.
Well, that was interesting. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn. With local county, so that's not.
Thanks.
Who's the problem maker now?
Well, I was gonna tell Joe, I mean, you think about it. Joe and I have seen each other for every month for like over 30 years.
Yep, that's assuming you didn't miss the meeting or he didn't.
Well, hardly,
Yeah.
Joe hardly missed it. I know him. Yeah, it's almost like calculated, it's over 400 meters, Joe. So,
Oh, I feel like I learned.
oh my gosh, thank you for coming. I know you've been.
Is that the year
Well, packet that is.
Usually what I do is I send her
Oh.
text of what's happening. She actually, like, well, yeah, I'm hoping it already have an issue, but it was interesting because we had done the limestone, no,
Yeah, it's just.
green.